Hello everyone, this is Afsar Ali. So in this video, you're gonna learn about Appium. It's a mobile automation tool, and in this particular video, you're gonna discuss about introduction of Appium, what it is, and how it is working, etc. So let's get started. So first of all, what is Appium? Appium is an open source tool for automating native mobile web and hybrid applications on iOS mobile, Android mobile, and some Windows desktop platform, etc. Right? So, what is hybrid? Hybrid application is a native application. Within that, a browser can be a browser view you can see with an app, right? So that is a hybrid. So native plus web, and yeah, and also it does support mobile web as well and some Windows desktop platform as well. Recently, they introduced Windows desktop platform as well, and also it's Android TV, iOS TV. Those things also you can automate using Appium. So importantly, Appium is a cross-platform. It allows you to write tests against multiple platforms like iOS, Android, and Windows using the same API. So it's a cross-platform, right? And multiple language binding support as well. It has you can write test in Java, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, C Sharp, PHP, etc. All right. And also you can write your own language binding as well, because this is a kind of a REST API, and you can create your own, but it's recommended to go with the APM's the library that is being officially is being released. So I would recommend you to go this, and it support the cross-platform applications as well, like Flutter, React Native. Those are the cross platform application, like write for one uh, OS, and it will work for both, like Android and iOS. If you develop in React Native, so how it works is the same application will work on both in Android and iOS. Same case in Flutter as well. So it's a cross platform application, right? Then we have what is the Appium philosophy? Actually, Appium philosophy is it is being developed on a certain philosophy. The first one is you should not have to recompile your app or modify it in any way in order to automate it. That means we don't want to change, or maybe uh, APM do not want to change anything in your application. It's completely your APK or IPA file. APK is for Android, IPA file is for iOS. We use those app file, like whatever you download from App Store or Google Play Store. So those are the files, APK or IPA files, right? So APM do not want to change or integrate inside your application. It's something that is that is outside of your application, and that drive and it creates some sort of server inside your application, and it try to automate your application without changing anything. So those things we'll see in the later videos, where we'll talk about the architecture of APM, how it works, and how it automate everything. So those things we'll see. So the first one is the first philosophy is you should not have to recompile your app or modify it in any way in order to automate it. Okay. And the second one, you should not be locked into a specific language or framework to write and run your test. So this is also another philosophy, so that it created REST API. So REST API, you can use your command line in Postman, or you can use your own language. Suppose you want to write your test in some language which doesn't support currently the client library is not available in Appium and in official language binding. Suppose you want to go with a Dart language, or maybe you want to go with something that is not available, you can write your own sets of uh, uh, REST API calls to automate that application. So yeah, it's not locked into any specific language or framework, so you can create it on your own. A mobile automation framework should not reinvent the wheel when it comes to automate the automation the API. So this is similar to the point number two. The mobile automation framework should not reinvent, right? So we should not reinvent something. Uh, we can automate through the APIs that is being available in Appium. It's like client and server architecture, and in server everything is there, right? We'll talk more about that in coming videos where we'll talk more in architectural level, uh, architectural levels, and everything how internally it works, right? So APM automation framework should be open source in spirit and practice as well as in name. So yeah, it's open source, and you can change if you want anything in just get the latest code from GitHub, and you can modify or you can contribute into the open source APM uh, GitHub repository as well. Okay, so coming to this is the first point that I made, right? So it's not we are not going to recompile anything, or APM will not change anything into your application. But what it does is internally it uses, suppose if it is iOS has its internal framework to automate, UIs, right? Like XUIT, we can say XQI test. This is a framework that is being used by Apple. Okay, whenever developer develops something in Xcode, all right, using Swift or Objective C language, they have to write some unit test as well, right? So in case of suppose the Java, right, we use JUnit or TestNG framework. Similar to that, uh, Apple's, if you're using developing a mobile application using Swift or Objective C, then they have to write some unit test as well, right? So in that case, for UI test, there is a framework called XQI test or UI automation test, right? So these are the two framework that is being used internally. So that will automate your application, and that will support automating your iOS application. So XQI test support iOS 9.3 and above versions, and UI automation support is less than 9.3 iOS version, right? And similar to that, Android also has UI Automator and UI Automator 2. So there is two version of uh, this framework, UI Automator framework. So this is also similar, which is being used to drive your automation of the UI of the Android applications, and it support 4.3 plus, right? If it is less than that, then we need to use Cell Android, etc. So these are the native binding. So this framework will internally change, or it internally work with the application that is being installed in your device, and you want to automate that application. So these are the framework that will be useful. And APM is kind of accessing this framework, and from external we are sending some REST API calls, and this framework will try to automate your application. So the internal the flow, how it works, and the architecture we'll see, as I said, in the later videos, and we'll so that we can understand the whole picture, how the things works. Then similar to that, we do have Windows, that Microsoft's Win app driver as well. So that is also a separate framework that is that drives the Windows applications. All right. Then this is how it works. As I said, this is our script that we will be dealing with, this WebDriver script part, where we'll be writing our test in Java, maybe in JavaScript, Python, etc. And once we run our script, it will go to the Appium server. Maybe the server is in cloud, maybe in the browser stack, or in any source lab, etc. So it will send the request to those server, Appium server, and the Appium server will try to execute the application under test using certain certain things that has to be done, like it will interact with the application or using UI automator 2. If it is Android, if it is iOS, then it will do something else. We'll see those things in the upcoming video. So similar to that, we do have for iOS XUI test driver, and it will try to automate through WebDriver agent. And yeah, those things we'll see in later videos. And thanks for watching. Okay, bye for now.